Okay, so I'm using the Talking Drums kit because the edge and bow sound on my third cymbal, cymbal 3, are distinctly different. If I unplug the cable from cymbal 3 and plug it into this, and then I have two cables coming from tom 1 and tom 2. I'm going to plug those into the splitter. And now so I'm triggering the bow sound and the edge sound on two separate pads using the splitter. If you've ever tried before to use a normal splitter like this HOSA YPP 117, then you probably got results like this. On one pad, I can trigger the tip signal, which is the bow of the cymbal fine. But on the other pad, I'm getting just a very faint signal of what should be the rim sound. But if I hit both pads at the same time, then I can trigger that rim sound. Okay, so here's my splitter. Pretty straightforward. It is a 1/4 inch stereo tip ring sleeve, whatever you want to call it, plug on this end, and it splits into two more 1/4 inch tip ring sleeve, stereo, whatever you want to call it, jacks on this end. I could have used a male plug on this end. This is the end that's going to go into the module on the input. I could have used a plug here instead of a female jack, but I already had a bunch of jacks on hand, so I ended up using a jack. Before, you saw I hit one tom pad and it triggered the bow sound on the cymbal, and I hit the other and it triggered almost nothing. I think what's going on there is that the module actually has 3 different features working with 2 different signal lines. Right, there's a tip ring sleeve is 3 lines, but one of those, the sleeve, is going to be the ground, so it doesn't functionally do anything in this scenario. The tip is going to be the bow. The bow has a piezo on it. Anytime you hit that cymbal, it's going to vibrate that piezo and it's going to activate a signal on the tip signal of the cymbal, which is the bow sound. The rim has a pressure switch that you have to put pressure on it for it to send a signal. If you just tap on the bow of the cymbal, it won't have any effect on that switch, so you get no signal on the ring. If you grab that switch on the edge, then it sends a signal only on the ring. I believe that would be the choke. And then if you hit that switch on the edge of the cymbal, then it actually not only triggers the switch, but it also vibrates the piezo in the bow of the cymbal. The tip alone, which is the bow of the cymbal, gives you the bow sound. The ring by itself, which is the switch by itself, gives you a choke. But when you hit the cymbal, the combination of the signal from the piezo in the bow and a direct hit on the switch at the same time tells the module that you hit the cymbal and didn't just grab it to choke. I assume that I'm right because this thing actually works, and if I was wrong, I don't think that it would. But okay, so what is this? What makes it different? Stereo female 1/4 inch jacks, okay, and I'm not using all of the connections on them. The sleeve signal on both of them are actually going to come down here and get tied together and connected to the sleeve on the output jack. The tip connection on one of these jacks will go directly to the tip output, or the tip connection to the module. But the second connector has a wire from the tip back to the ring. But like I said, I have to trigger the ring and the tip at the same time to get my edge sound. If you use a wire to jump across the tip and the ring, you just get a short, and then both pads, you will trigger the edge, but you'll only trigger the edge. Both pads will trigger the edge at the same time. So I need to trigger going one way from the ring to the tip, but not going from the tip back to the ring. And so I did that using diodes. It's hard to see, but right there in front of the end of my pen is a little tiny diode. That's a 1N4148. The anode is soldered to the ring connection, and the cathode is connected to the tip connection on this jack. If you don't know anything about diodes, I'm not the person to explain it. All I can tell you in simplest terms, all I can say is that it acts like a one-way door. So current coming in from the anode can pass through to the cathode side fine. But current coming from the cathode side gets blocked. It's like there's a little door here. It's like exit only. So current can go this way, but it cannot go back this way. So that lets me connect these two sides and send the signal across from the ring to the tip without sending the signal from the tip back into the ring. I also have a second diode connected here. Now this one is connected with the anode coming from my pad input for the tip, which would be the bow signal, and going straight into the tip connection going out to my module. When I was experimenting with this, when I had only a pad connected to my ring input, trying to get my edge sound, I played it and it worked great. And I unplugged that pad and plugged it into my tip input to get my bow sound, and I played it by itself and it played fine. And I thought, well, great, I finally figured it out. Then I plugged in two pads, and with two pads connected, it worked, but it was very faint. It lost a lot of signal. It was a big drop in signal, and I got to thinking about it. And I think what was happening was when I was triggering the piezo on this end and sending a signal this way, that I was actually losing it. It was actually traveling back up the other line and feeding into my first piezo. And so to stop that, I used a second diode here. So this one is letting current come down from my tip connection piezo, my head or bow piezo, and go into the tip without any signal being able to feed back into it the other direction. And also without this diode here, you do lose a little bit of signal going through the diode, even going through it the right way. And without this here, the signal was strong enough that it was kind of able to force its way through this door from this second, or from the first rather, diode. So it was able to actually overpower that some, and this would act like a short. So having the second diode, I'm reducing the forward voltage a little bit, but mostly I'm restoring my signal by not sending any of my signal from my ring back up into the piezo connected to the tip. And so now it works fine. I do think there's still just a tiny bit of signal reduction, but that can be adjusted out in the module by increasing the sensitivity or just turning up the volume of the instrument you have assigned to that. The larger diode is a 1N5822. That's 1N5822. I'll put the diode values in the description, and I also put a link to my site. I have a description of this, and I'm going to put some more pictures and things there. So hopefully that'll help it make a little more sense. If this video isn't confusing enough, you can go read my confusing description of it on my site. This works on my Strike module on crash cymbal inputs, not the ride cymbal input, on crash cymbal inputs using my tom pads. Now, because of the way this works and because it relies so much on the strength of the signal passing through, different types of pads might not work as well with these values of diodes, and I don't know what values to use for different pads. I have a couple of Roland pads. I tried this with a rubber Roland PD8 and also a mesh Roland PDX8, and they worked fine, but you know, your experience may be different. If you do try this, let me know what kind of results you have. I mostly did this just because a lot of people, including myself, told others that you couldn't split cymbal inputs. I figured you could, but it took me a long time to figure out how because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'll probably never use this, but maybe you will. So good luck, and thanks for watching.